In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is my husband Joe.
Hello.
Hello. Joe currently can't breathe properly. Tell them why.
I bought a shirt online and it is a little bit small. I might never not be able to wear it again. This might be what I look like for the rest of my life, Vicky. Squeezed into a bright red shirt.
It's very tight. It's a compression shirt, isn't it?
It's supposed to be a compression shirt, but I'm not sure I'm supposed to be this compressed.
And we've just come in from the garden after a bit of a traumatic 20 minutes with Mrs. Pickles. Because, Mrs. Pickles is one of our hens.
I'm not happy. I feel very strange.
Joe feels a little bit... Mrs. Pickles is one of our hens, and when I was cleaning out the coop earlier, I found a big blob of blood, and I was like, oh, shit. Because the thing about hens is that they're actually velociraptors, and if they see blood, they go absolutely mental for it. And so if a chicken has an injury, the others will basically peck at it until the chicken dies. And it's not out of a kind of... It's not even necessarily like a bullying thing, although sometimes it is. It's just that the sight of blood makes them go crazy.
Blood rage.
Yeah, because anyone who thinks that chickens aren't carnivores, you don't know anything about chickens.
They are vicious.
But anyway, so there was a blob of blood, and I was like, oh crap, one of the chickens is injured. So I went and had a look at them, and then Mrs. Pickles turned round and mooned me, and it was just a big bloody mess. And I was like, oh my God, it looked way worse before you got home.
So I got a panicky kind of, you need to come home now. So I do my, hour-long commute.
Well, you were coming home early anyway.
I was going to come home early anyway, but I got to do my hour-long commute to get home in order to look up a chicken's bum.
Yeah, and I'd already kind of picked her up and stuffed her under my arm and had a bit of a closer look, and I couldn't see, because quite often it's because they have like a prolapse, and so they've like tried to lay a bigger egg and a bit of the hen has come out of the vent with the egg, and it's like a massive hemorrhoid, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so we're a bit worried, because if that happens, you have to get a pair of gloves on and then push it back in.
Poke it back in.
And then keep an eye on them and kind of not feed them for a day so that they don't, so that they don't lay another egg the next day.
Ugh.
It's a whole thing. Anyway, so I'd had a bit of a look. I was like, well, there's nothing hanging out of her butt. There was no obvious injury. And so I was like, well, what's going on here? And I couldn't kind of hold her under my arm and mess around with her butt.
So I was called home from work to,
fettle around in a chicken's...
Foot around a chicken's butt, yeah.
Yeah, and we've given her a good old clean with salt water. And there is a little bit of a weirdly baldy patch, but there's no obvious injury, is there?
No.
So we've cleaned all the blood off, and we're hoping that we've left her on her own for a bit, away from the others. And we're kind of hoping that she's going to be all right.
Jesus.
Because she's just eaten her body weight in corn as well. Because I felt so bad about the whole stuffing her under my arm and turning her upside down and...
Washing her ass.
Washing her vent. Yes. So that's
welcome to the countryside, folks.
Yeah. Welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. Marketing and business podcast.
Also chicken maintenance.
Yeah. But, well, I don't know. How can we turn this into a business lesson? Because I've got like a whole...
Don't try and lay a bigger business egg than your business butt will cope with. I don't know.
We're not even drinking right now because it's 5:03 p.m.
Jesus.
That's gonna be tomorrow's email. So, anyway,
unless you got someone to turn you upside down and rinse you. I don't know.
But she didn't try and lay a bigger egg than she could handle. It was a normal sized egg.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm just...
I don't know. So actually, what today's podcast is actually about is why nobody is clicking your buttons.
Is it because you've got a big butt prolapse?
No. So this was actually going to be like a full-on teaching podcast, and now it's degenerated into chicken butts. Don't really know what to do about that.
I challenge you to make everything in your next daily email to be about chicken butts.
Everything?
Everything. Pretty much every word, all of the words need to be chicken butt.
So I'm not sending an email to my list with 200 instances of chicken butt.
I think you should try.
Right, okay, so hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is my husband Joe, and this week we're supping on nothing.
Nothing.
Because it's 5:03pm, it's a bit late for a cup of tea and it's far too early for gin, and I'm going to trapeze in a bit.
Yeah.
So, and this week we're talking about why nobody is clicking your buttons. I'm going to start with a story. A story about a man named Shane Bennett.
Is he a real man?
Yeah.
The actual person?
Yeah, actual person. He really loved Samsung products. Other electronics are available.
Okay.
He had a Samsung LCD TV, he had a Galaxy S, and he had a laptop. So he's like a proper loyal Samsung customer.
Right.
And as any fool know, Samsung obviously owed him stuff, because when you are loyal, you want a reward from your,
Okay.
That's not necessarily the case, but he basically went to Samsung's Facebook page and asked them for a free Galaxy 3S smartphone, as you do.
Galaxy 3, so this is a while ago, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a while ago.
A few years ago.
Yeah, this is not a current story. He asked them for a free phone, basically.
Because I am such a loyal customer.
Yeah, because he is such a loyal customer. But he did have something from them for them in return, you see. He drew them a slightly dodgy drawing of a dragon.
Okay.
And gave it to them on their Facebook page. And because Samsung's marketing people at the time were pretty on the ball and all the rest of it, they actually took notice of this and they replied and they were like, yeah, we can't just give away phones to everyone who asks because that would put us out of business. But as a gesture of friendship, here is a drawing of a kangaroo.
Okay.
And so they kind of reciprocated his dragon drawing with a kangaroo, which is, it's pretty cool. And that was kind of cute. It's kind of a cute way to, respond and engage with your customers. And so the whole thing made it onto the front page of Reddit, which was quite a big deal back then.
That is some cheap advertising they did there.
It's quite a big deal now, because to get anything on the front page of Reddit is,
Yeah, a lot of people see it.
Yeah, and it was free. It went properly viral. It was really, really good marketing for Samsung. So they actually did come up with something to thank Mr. Shane Bennett. And it was kind of awesome because they did, in fact, send him a free phone. But it wasn't just any free phone. They used his questionable drawing of a dragon, turned it into a design, and created the smartphone with that as the casing.
Cool.
And sent him that phone as a gift.
Very nice.
Which is really nice, yeah. And it all started because Mr. Shane Bennett went onto their Facebook page and asked them for it.
And the right person was looking after their Facebook page that day.
Yep.
So do you think the person on Facebook who answered it from Samsung was, in fact, thinking clever marketing, or do you think they were bored at work, or do you think they were just...
I think they were just being human beings.
Just human beings.
And that's a podcast for another day. But I think, they were just being human beings. But this whole thing, I mean, he got what he wanted because he asked for it. And that's kind of what this podcast is all about. It's about asking, because we tend to be fairly crap at asking for stuff, like as people and as business owners. Mm-hmm. We don't ask for help. We don't ask for what we want. We don't ask for what we need. Generally we don't really ask. We're quite uncomfortable doing it, I think, or we're just very bad at it and do it quite gracelessly.
Sure.
So this podcast will show you how to ask for stuff gracefully and massively increase the chances that someone will then buy from you.
Okay.
That is my promise to you, dear listener, today. So let's. I'm going to make a few assumptions as we go through this podcast. I'm going to assume that your offer is amazing, that your product is really good, that you've aimed at exactly the right people, you've got their attention, and your sales page or letter or email or whatever is interesting enough to keep them reading.
If you don't know how to do that,
there's endless resources on my podcast and on my website and in my blog for you to go and learn from.
And in the Borrow the Brains and the Inner Circles and all that stuff, but that's kind of the baseline, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're not ready to, actually pay me money to do stuff yet, there is a shitload of information on my website and on the podcasts that will help you to generally be more interesting and help you to sell more. So I'm assuming that all of your,
You actually have a product, it works, you have a website, it functions.
you know who you're writing to, you've got your ideal customer in mind, all of that stuff. And you've done all this stuff, but nobody's bloody clicking the buy button.
Right.
And so, there's a whole bunch of reasons why somebody might not buy from you, but we're assuming right now that you've got all those reasons nailed, and it's
is this where a search engine optimization person wanders in and says, I can optimize your engine results for a gajillion pounds?
Well, maybe, but even that won't help if you haven't actually asked anyone to buy anything from you.
Right.
Which is kind of my point. So, if nobody is clicking the buy now button or calling to place an order or, generally buying your stuff or signing up for whatever you want people to sign up for, signing up for your email list, why not? It's really frustrating when you feel like you've put a lot of work into stuff and you feel like you've done everything right. Why is nobody buying from me? Why is nobody doing what I asked them to do?
Okay.
It's very frustrating. I will wager it's for one very simple reason, that you haven't asked, or you haven't asked effectively. And in my experience, there are 3 problems with most people's sales messages. Hi, Whiskey. Whiskey says, problem number A is there is really no call to action at all. Problem B is that the call to action is so weak and confusing that it may as well not be there at all.
Okay.
Problem C, and this is by far the most common, is that there is just not enough information to overcome people's uncertainty about buying from you.
Okay.
So I'm going to kind of whiz through the first 2 because they're kind of easy to fix, and then linger a little bit longer on the third one because that's where the money is. And Whiskey will chime in when she's got something useful to say. So let's start with problem number A. No real call to action.
Okay.
Just a vague hope that people will act. And, we've all seen this kind of...
Here's all the stuff I do on my website. Da, da, da. Lots of products, lots of things, but nowhere does it say...
Here's my thing, here's my message, bye.
Yeah. No, ring me now.
Yeah.
Or press this button.
Yeah. And, I've seen a couple of critiques come through over the years where I've kind of come back and say, this is all very good, but there's no call to action on the end of this. What's the point of this? What's the point of the sales message if you're not gonna ask people to actually do something at the end of it? And sometimes it's a simple oversight. It's like you've put all of this work into...
You've written beautiful words and
then you've kind of
great.
go, I've done it, put it up there, and you've completely forgotten to ask somebody for the sale. It happens. I've done it myself. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things. So it's kind of, just check. But quite often I think it's because we feel quite uncomfortable asking people for money. And there's a bunch of psychological reasons why that might be. Not least of which is our attitude to wealth in this country. We tend to have this belief that if we're gaining, somebody else has to be losing. Mm-hmm. And if we're decent people, that puts limits on what we feel that we can ask for. And actually it's nonsense because there is no kind of universal force that says this is the maximum number of monies in the universe.
Sure.
And there's only this much to go around. That's not the way the world works. There's plenty of wealth for everybody, and you gaining something does not mean, unless you've robbed somebody, does not mean that somebody else has to lose out.
If you're comfortable and confident in your product, and it's a good product, and you're happy with it, and you know it has value, and you're targeting the right people, they're okay to pay it.
Yeah. And that is also a really good point, because that's another psychological barrier to asking for money, is if you don't feel quite confident enough.
It's that whole imposter syndrome, isn't it? I can't ask that much money for this.
Exactly.
Whatever the hell it is, tea cozy I've made.
Exactly. But actually that's kind of a vicious circle, because if you don't feel confident enough to ask for enough money, then that signals to your potential customers that you don't think that your product or service is worth it. Mm. And if you don't think it's worth it, how the hell do you expect them to stump up even, 5p for it? So, even free stuff you have to signal is worthwhile people's time listening, which is why I'm always selling this podcast. It's why I'm always selling my free stuff. I'm still selling it even though I'm not asking for money for it, because I'm asking for people's time and attention. Mm. So, this is one of those times where you can kind of fake it until you make it, because, if you've got happy customers and you've got a product that people are happy with, then despite what your ridiculous brain is telling you, it's good enough to sell because people are signaling this to you. So, slap a price tag on it and let it go.
Yeah.
Let it free and
Get
see what
comfortable.
happens. And the more people that buy it, the more confident you'll get. It's kind of, and that turns it into like a vicious silken scarf. It's like the opposite of a vicious circle.
Right.
It's not really.
It's not really.
It's like
Wouldn't it be like
a silky circle.
a cuddly triangle or something?
A cuddly triangle. I like it.
I don't know.
A cuddly triangle. So yeah, that's. Oh, and there's a third reason why people won't ask either.
Okay.
So uncomfortable asking, lack of confidence, and a kind of arrogance as well, I think. And this is particularly prevalent among creative people. And I'm going to get a lot of like growls now, but this is something that I have experienced a lot. It's kind of artists, and when I say artists, I mean anybody who creates anything. Writers, painters, sketchers, musicians. Anybody who creates something tends to think, I've put my heart and soul into this thing. It's beautiful. People should just buy it.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
I'm not going to lower myself to even ask you to buy it.
World does not work that way. Unless you are like Damien Hirst or Vincent van Gogh or Freddie Mercury, you can't just kind of put something out there and expect people to buy it because, you know, until you get to that level. I mean, you know, somebody like... I can't think of anybody who's not dead right now, and it's making me sad. Freddie Mercury, David Bowie, Prince. Florence and the Machine. If you're Florence and the Machine, you could put out a blank record and people would probably buy it.
Yes, you could just have an unfindable page on a website somewhere that sold your tickets to your concert, and
it would sell out.
It would sell out in minutes.
Yeah. I'm taking a wild guess here that Florence and the Machine are not listening to this podcast. So for everybody else out there, you got to sell your shit to people. Doesn't matter how good you are. There is a million other people, well, you know, 1,000 other people out there.
Help them. You got to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Because people will wander around websites and go, oh, that's nice. I'll just go and wander off and look for more of those.
Which leads us nicely on to point number 2.
Wasn't it point number A last time? Okay.
So yeah, you have to actually ask. You know, if you haven't got an actual call to action, just start with a simple button that says buy now or sign up now or join now.
Yeah.
That's better than nothing.
Click here to do this now.
Finish your message and then a very abrupt sign up here. It's by far not the best way to do it, but it's better than not doing anything. So second problem is lack of clarity, or the call to action is so weak it may as well not be there, or it's very, very confusing. And the problem with this arises when people have like a landing page or just a page and they're trying to sell you 5 different things at once. Mm-hmm. That's just going to confuse people. They'll get option paralysis and they'll go somewhere else.
Yes, if you, instead of saying, click here for this seminar, if you say, here's my calendar, pick one of them, then people are going to go, oh, I don't know, maybe I need to look at my calendar, maybe I need to compare this, maybe I need to talk to my husband, and off they go.
Or a better example, thank you,
right.
would be,
Cheers.
would be sign up for this webinar, or buy my book, or book onto this live course, or buy this online course, or, you know, and you've given people so many, it's like, pick the thing that you want to sell, and
sell that thing.
Now, that's not quite the same as giving people a choice of options within one thing, and that's a podcast for an entirely different day, because that's to do with pricing, and that's really powerful stuff. And
okay. But when you are calling for somebody to do something, don't confuse them. Just give them a thing to do, tell them to do it.
And be strong about it as well, because the number of times that I see stuff like, I look forward to hearing from you. My answer is, so what? You're not going to hear from people. It's like, if you are putting together an action plan or a proposal or whatever that you are trying to get business from somebody, do not, for the love of all that is holy, end it with, I look forward to hearing from you. Mm-hmm. It's weak ass shit. And it will, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's not necessarily going to get you nowhere, but it's certainly going to make people think, It kind of elicits that, reaction. So do not end stuff like that. Instead, end positively. You know, I always end my action plans, and this is fucking gold dust, people, that I'm giving you here. I always end my action plans with, give me 3 times in the next 10 days that you're available to speak to me, and we'll set up a call. Or I will send them a link to my calendar and say, book our call now. Mm-hmm. And it's basically, it's a call to action.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
Do
just send
this
somebody.
now.
I don't just send somebody an action plan or a proposal and say, "I look forward to hearing from you." Yeah, let me know. It's like, no, they won't. They've got things to do. Make sure that you book the thing, make it happen, and include instructions as well. It's like you said earlier, you've got to tell people what to do. If you've got a button to click, tell them to click the button. I know that sounds really dumb, but people need telling what to do, because it's not, especially if your button isn't immediately obvious. And there's a couple of heuristics that we use. So, like, we've learned that kind of grey or muted coloured links on the internet are dead links. They don't work. We've learned that grey kind of buttons they're not real buttons. They're dead. They don't work. And we've also learned that blue links do work. We've learned that that's a hyperlink. And so you'll often find, marketers trying to be really clever. It's like, I'm going to make this hyperlink bright pink. Don't do it, because it might make you look a little bit different from everybody else, but we expect a link to be blue.
Yeah. It's like, why is this pink?
Yeah.
I just think that would be one that I'd been to before or something.
Exactly, yeah. Well, yeah, because it turns red after you've been to it before, doesn't it? So yeah, don't be different just for the sake of being different when our brains expect to see something. And don't hide stuff either. So, with the if you're kind of putting a call to action out there and you're being a little bit wishy-washy, then that's it needs to stand out. You need to have arrows pointing at it. It needs to be like a bright orange button or a bright green button or something that's not kind of buried. It needs to be on a page that isn't overly busy.
Yeah.
And it needs to be really obvious that it's actually a call to action.
And kind of the whole point of a landing page is you get there and then you do something. You don't then navigate off.
Yeah.
You don't wander off around your website or disappear into Facebook or, go and read all your Twitter feeds or anything. It's kind of like you either press this button and buy the thing. Yeah. Or you close your browser.
Yeah. Exactly. But you do have to give people really specific instructions on what to do once you've got them on that page. So it's like you kind of blah, 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 here's my sales message, here's my thing, benefit. And now you can get this thing here by clicking that button below and then filling in your name and your email address and your credit card details or whatever it is that you need, or by calling this number. And, give people as many chances to respond as possible as well. Because there's a lot to be said for, just giving people one option. If you don't want to be phoned, then that's fine. But if you can give people the option to contact you via email or to fill in a form or to leave a message somewhere, then the more options for response you give people, the more likely you are to get a response.
Yeah, because some people don't like talking on the phone.
No, some people don't like writing emails. Some people don't like waiting for stuff. And whatever you do, tell people that. Tell people exactly what you want them to do, basically. Okay. If you can give them a couple of options, do so. And we're now 22 minutes in, which means that we've got a little bit of a cliffhanger, because next week we're going to share with you the real biggie, the really, really valuable shit about asking for action. And this is the bit where almost everybody falls down. This is the bit where I can always add value to anybody sending stuff to me for critique, because if I just did this, if I just looked at this particular bit that we're going to cover next week, I would be able to increase their sales just really like that, just by doing the really simple thing that I'm going to share with you next week.
Oof. Cliffhanger.
I know. So tune in next week, because that's going to be awesome. And yeah, so to recap over these two things, use a clear, concise call to action. Don't just trail off awkwardly into waffle.
Sorry, kind of ironic there.
Use a strong and clear call to action. Tell me what you want me to do, tell me how to do it, and tell me why I should do it. So next week, we'll be back with the third massive problem that people have with calls to action, and I'll be sharing with you something that's incredibly powerful and beating Joe over the head with his compression shirt for reasons that we'll explain next week. So yeah, if you like this podcast, please go to iTunes and leave us a review, please. We really like those. It'll help more people find us and laugh at us and learn about chicken butts. Or if you don't like leaving reviews on iTunes, that's cool. Please share it. If you know someone who'll enjoy this nonsense, send them to vickyfraser.com/podcast.
Share it on Facebook.
Share it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those places. And And if you're ready to take your business to the next level and join a really cool group of people who are working really hard and, banging their own drums and not just following the herd, then you should come join my superheroes at businessforsuperheroes.com/inner-circle.
Cool.
So we'll be here same time next week. Thanks very much, Joe.
No worries.
Be good, guys. Go sell something. If you can't be good, don't get caught. And if you can't sell something, join my inner circle. Bye.
Bye. Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.